And with that, let's get straight down to business. And we're going to begin today's show with cryptos. So much to talk about. You know, a month ago, 2 months ago, many of you may have had FOMO just looking at the way the Bitcoin was moving. A lot of that has changed. A lot of that is also thanks to now the world's third richest man on this planet, Elon Musk. Yes, he was dethroned from the second spot late night yesterday. You know, in a matter of 48 hours, he had tweeted nearly 8 times on cryptos. And a lot of the bloggers, specialists in the crypto world, just couldn't make out the flip-flops that we were seeing. Nevertheless, the way you look at it, the Bitcoin has been going one way, which is south, but there are other cryptos which are gaining. If you were to just look at volumes, Ethereum is a big gainer. Dogecoin, we've been talking about it here since last week. That is also doing really well. And I'm going to be discussing that and more with my 2 guests. Neeraj Khandelwal, co-founder and CTO at CoinDCX. Also joining us is Sharan Nair, the Chief Business Officer at CoinSwitch Kuber. It is a Tiger Global-backed startup. Thanks, guys, for being a part of this edition of Startup Central. Neeraj, let me come to you first. You know, a lot of people like yours, the crypto exchange platforms, was built on the premise that the Bitcoin is a people's currency, it's a safe currency, but we have been seeing a lot of volatility. You saw a lot of volatility in 2019, in 2020, and now look what's going on, but not this kind. What has it meant in India with all those who are trading on your platform?
Thank you. So you're right. Bitcoin is currently very volatile in the market, and mainly driven by the tweets of Elon Musk, right? But I have a very fundamentally very different view when it comes to Bitcoin and its volatility. I personally believe that we should always look at the fundamentals, right? The whole premise on which the Bitcoin is going south as of today is based on whether Bitcoin is using renewable source of energy or not, right? But I personally believe that eventually it's all going to be renewable sources of energy, for Bitcoin mining, which is going to be used simply because renewable energies are becoming cheaper, right? So eventually all the Bitcoin miners will move to renewable sources of energy. And I think it's just, it's a healthy debate, which should always go on in the industry. What is better for, what is better for us to move forward, which direction we should move forward into. Healthy debate, these things should happen, and eventually they should produce good results, right? So I don't see Bitcoin, going like, going out of the picture.
There.
It's just a temporary
Neeraj,
debate.
let me just interrupt you there.
Sure.
Neeraj, I would like to just interrupt you there. Bitcoin's ke fundamentals, what exactly does that mean? We've heard about the stock market's ke fundamentals and all of that, but what are the Bitcoin fundamentals?
Sure. Bitcoin fundamental, so it's all about adoption, right? How much adoption is there globally for Bitcoin? And we see that the number of addresses, unique addresses on the Bitcoin network, which is directly proportional to how many people are getting into it, how many people are believing into it, how many people are using Bitcoin for whatever reason as an asset class, for payment, etc. Right? This count of unique addresses on Bitcoin is increasing very rapidly. Right? That is one fundamental of Bitcoin. The other fundamental of Bitcoin is how many people are mining, or basically how much energy is going into the Bitcoin mining. Right? The more energy it consumes, the more stable the network becomes. Right? Now the debate is whether this energy, it's releasing a lot of carbon dioxide in the environment, and hence it's not good for the humanity. But again, we know that this fundamental it's a healthy debate, right? Eventually, it's all going to be renewable, and even today, more than 50% of the energy consumed is renewable, as per a lot of reports, right? And eventually, it's going to be 100%. So I think it's a temporary debate. So these are the fundamentals of Bitcoin. Two major fundamentals, which I believe are very important.
Okay. Sharon, let me come to you. My first up, I want to ask you that this volatility that we're seeing, where the Bitcoin is heading down, and it has to be said, the volumes for Ethereum, look how well that is doing. It's gaining a lot. You can't say all of Bitcoin's loss is Ethereum's gain, but you've got other smaller ones like the Doji coin, for example, which are also picking up momentum. How are you folks figuring out to ride this volatility, and what's your advice to those that do ask about it?
Thank you, Nayantara, first of all, for having me on the show. I think the volatility has been a part of the crypto industry since its beginning, right? And that has been true for any asset class, as a matter of fact. If you look at gold, for example, if you just go back and look at the history of gold, it was super volatile in the beginning, and it kind of stabilized once mass adoption was kind of achieved. Cryptocurrencies are still at a very nascent stage, and that's why we see the volatility that's happening. Very specific to your question that you're asking about, how does one make sense of what's happening today in terms of Bitcoin's price dropping and other projects gaining? Like you rightly said, it's not all of Bitcoin losses are not necessarily all of other altcoins gains. I think Bitcoin if you look at the current scenario, current price drop that has happened in the last couple of days, has predominantly been dominated by Elon Musk's misguided information about how Bitcoins work, its energy consumption, its block size debate, etc. For a very new investor who has no idea about the internal working or the technology part of Bitcoin, it is very easy to look and adapt and understand it from a perspective of what someone like a celebrity kind of entrepreneur would think about it. But I think it's just a matter of time before people realize that cryptocurrencies are truly decentralized and doesn't really require opinions about it once they start understanding the tech part of it. The reason why you see certain altcoins do well, for example, Ethereum, is because Ethereum has a lot of projects happening on it, which is kind of disrupting the decentralized finance world. Decentralized finance has been the most major attraction point of why people are moving towards Ethereum today, because in future it will significantly change the way we bank with the kind of easiness that decentralized technology brings.
So, Sharon, can I ask you a different question? As far as this energy goes, and we have discussed it on this very show on Startup Central, that it can't be that Elon Musk just found out about what he calls to be the insane consumption of energy being used by Bitcoins. Now, those who are in the crypto camp have been arguing that cryptos and Bitcoin don't use as much energy, for example, as the banking industry, or how much is used for gold. There's a very famous report that has come out by Galaxy Digital as well, authored by Mike Novogratz himself, who's considered to be so legendary when it comes to the crypto world. But having said that, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, you talk about it being decentralized, but is it truly that decentralized when one server is using up this kind of energy, when one server is being so involved in the mining and all of that? Is it truly a decentralized currency?
So let me answer this in two parts, right? The first part about the energy consumption. Now, while there is a certain amount of energy that is getting consumed while doing it, but definitely cryptocurrencies offer an incentive for the world to identify a cheaper source of energy, which is mostly going to be renewable energy sources, what Neeraj earlier mentioned, and we'll definitely move in that direction going forward because it just makes sense to do that, at least from a cost point of view as well. So it's just natural that they would do that. Most importantly, contrary to what most people believe, I think that cryptocurrencies provide the kind of right incentive for people to discover way to operate energy in a better form when they're mining, right? And that will lead to a race of whole different sources of power getting discovered. As far as the decentralization part of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are concerned, now if you think of it, anybody could today go on the Bitcoin network and start running a full node, right? And that truly decentralizes cryptocurrency, the ability to do that. Now, it is true that at some point in the starting of the journey, you will see some centralization, because on day one in 2009, when Bitcoin started, there's probably 5 people doing that, right? And it's only a matter of fact that you start seeing more people come in. So I think it's a matter of time when we start seeing it getting more and more decentralized. I think it's reasonably decentralized today. I think it will just keep getting better at it.
If I can now come to you now, what we've seen with the Bitcoin is that it's continuing to fall as option traders are also piling into the puts. We've seen that actually take place, but what we've also seen is that it looked a few weeks ago that the Bitcoin was going to consolidate and firm its position around $50,000. Would you agree that maybe the new normal could for it be very well be around $45,000, $40,000 to $45,000? I've taken your point on fundamentals, I've taken your point on riding the volatility, but is that where it's headed?
Nayantara, I think one thing to consider is, what events happen moving forward, right? It's a debate that has begun in the industry of renewable energy versus carbon dioxide, etc. And it's yet to be concluded. It's not concluded. Of course, we are seeing a lot of reports, like you mentioned, the Galaxy Digital, where we are seeing the claims that the situation is not that bad. I mean, it's not like Bitcoin network is bad for the environment after all, right? And I think I would wait for the debate to conclude, right? If it is concluded that Bitcoin needs some more renewable energy to be used for mining purposes, I think in the very short to medium term, you would see that happening automatically, because it's in the interest of the network, and everybody in the network would want that, would want to keep up the trust of the people, so of the network users. So I think it's a matter of this debate getting ended, and I feel that till the time the debate is not ending, the prices, we could see a sideways movement in the price, right, where people wait what will happen next, and eventually I believe it's going to go north, breaking the limits again.
Okay. If I can now come back to you, Sharan. So we've been talking about where it might be headed, how to ride the volatility. Can you give us a little idea in India if the alternatives are picking up momentum? If you read the global crypto websites and blogs, they, for example, talk about how nearly $100 million came out of Bitcoins, and how it's mainly the newbies who are getting nervous, the older investors are staying firm. Tell us some of the trends that you're seeing in India.
Right. We're seeing at least the new investors who are coming in who have previously not invested, and a lot of them who started investing very recently when the prices were picking up have kind of exited the market. This is very evident from the fact that if you look at data on the blockchain, it tells that all the addresses that have got generated in a very in recency have started exiting the market. If you look at then there's a second category of people who have started moving out of Bitcoin. They started putting into other asset classes like Ethereum, for example, based on the technological progress that you see. And some of them have been just randomly allocating it based on where the market is going. For example, they see a particular coin go up, then they just go invest in that coin. We see that as well. But that's a very small section of people. So that's how it's currently the trend has been classified, at least in the Indian market.
And are you seeing, I'm not sure, and I'll admit that I don't know if on your platform you've got the alternatives listed. For example, yesterday we did have one of the platforms here which was increasing its listing offerings. But are you seeing the alternatives become popular in India, like the Doji coin? Look at that market capitalization. It's the 4th largest crypto in the world now. Are Indians taking to it?
I wake up every morning with a lot of people putting out on LinkedIn and other places requesting us to add different kind of tokens. We have seen people requesting us to add tokens like we already have Dogecoin. We have seen people come up and wanting us to list token like Shiba Inu and some of the other popular currencies that you see. We do get a lot of that request almost every day.